Attorney General accused the president of going far beyond his legal authority and asked a judge to keep control of the police department in district hands. Brian Schwab described the administration's actions as unlawful and the gravest threat to home rule that the nation's capital has ever faced. Greg Clugston, Washington.
A political standoff in Texas over new U.S. House maps aimed at adding 5 Republican seats is poised to enter a new phase. Meanwhile, heavily Democratic California plans for a November election intended to erase most of that state's GOP House districts in the fight over control of Congress. Aaron has strengthened into a hurricane as it approaches Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, bringing heavy rains that could cause flooding and landslides. The National Hurricane Center in Miami reports the storm is several hundred miles east of the northern Leeward Islands. On Wall Street, the Dow is up 116 points, the NASDAQ Composite losing 78. More at townhall.com.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. You work hard, you build wisely, your home has become one of your greatest assets. If you're staying put this summer, this might be the perfect time to put that equity to work. Whether it's funding a second home, helping your kids get their start, or simply creating more margin in your financial life, Mike and Brian at Fellowship Home Loans are the only ones I trust to guide you through it. They've done loans for my family. They tailor every loan to fit your goals. Fellowship is a direct lender and operates with your best interest in mind. If you're looking to access your equity through a refi or exploring a HELOC for some cash this summer for a second property, or maybe tackle those updates you've been putting off, start with people you trust, people I trust. Go to fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, or call 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 819382.
And Oregon University says Nike co-founder Phil Knight and his wife Penny Knight have pledged a record $2 billion to its cancer center, the largest single donation ever made to a U.S. university. A lawsuit by a former NFL coach against the Broncos, Giants, Texans, and league over discrimination moving forward.
A federal appeals court says the NFL can be put on trial over claims that Brian Flores and other black coaches face discrimination. The Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals upheld Manhattan federal judge Valerie Caproni's 2023 ruling that Flores can proceed with claims against the league and 3 teams. In February 2022, Flores sued the league and several teams, saying the league was, quote, rife with racism. NFL spokesperson Brian McCarthy said the league disagrees with the ruling and will seek further review. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. Summer travelers facing uncertainty as Air Canada flight attendants threaten to strike this weekend. The airline has started canceling flights and plans to lock workers out, potentially halting all operations by Saturday morning. Well, here's the proof. There are still good, honest people in this world.
A retired Michigan auto worker got a Facebook message this summer from a stranger that said, "Did you lose your wallet?" Minnesota mechanic Chad Volk found Richard Guilford's billfold under the hood of a Ford Edge. It had fallen from his shirt pocket in 2014 when he was working at a Ford factory in suburban Detroit. The wallet still had $15 in it, plus Guilford's driver's license. Volk mailed it to him. Guilford said, "This restores your faith in humanity." Jason Walker reporting.
More on these stories at townhall.com. I'm John Scott.
Number 1 for live and local
conservative talk.
I'm very angry.
I've heard a lot of people talking about gun control. You have to wave a magic wand and get rid of the establishment. This maniac is going to inspire the next maniac.
News, analysis, opinion.
But my focus is kind of the mental health crisis. All stuff in the drain itself.
I'm just sick of the protesting in general.
And that's why it's so very important to be prepared.
101.9 and 94.1.
St. Louis's number 1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. News, analysis, opinion.
Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you very much for taking my call.
Every day it's something new.
No one else is really talking about this.
I'm glad you're fired up about it, too.
Trump's doing the right thing.
You know, there's so many issues.
It's over.
I think you're politically wrong.
Very upset.
I will have to agree with you. You're one of the sweetest guys in the world. For a guy who's so bad on politics.
1019 and 94.1.
Your platform is like really, really important to us.
St. Louis is number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Advisory in effect through the weekend and through Monday as well. We're looking at high temperatures each day in the mid to upper 90s, mainly the upper 90s. We could hit 99 by Sunday. 96 today, 98 on Saturday, Sunday's high, and Monday too, up to 99. Lots of sunshine and humidity. Those heat index readings as high as 105. Be careful out there. I'm KMOB First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Agree
I think conservatives have it wrong.
or disagree.
I couldn't agree with you more.
The conversation happens here.
I agree with you on Trump. I'm shaking my head. I'm one of your liberal Democratic listeners, and I don't get why any of this even matters.
Because your voice matters.
Everybody told him he couldn't do it, and then he did do it.
That's what you got to do. You got to play hardball.
I want to hear what people think and be able to talk about it.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. This hour of Colombo Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
Hey, it's First Alert Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton from Channel 4, and we are proud to be the official weather source for News Talk STL. Just like you've grown to expect from us at Channel 4, you can expect the same accurate, detailed, and timely weather coverage from News Talk STL. The First Alert weather team will keep you ahead of the big weather changes. And the one thing you can count on in St. Louis, the weather is constantly changing. So Channel 4 and News Talk STL are committed to keeping you up to date and safe.
Hello and welcome to Colombo and Company on 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. I am Tony Colombo with you in studio. Also is producer Ashlyn, and we have got a lot going on a Friday afternoon. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin have officially arrived in Alaska, in Anchorage up there, and are heading into their peace talks. So we're going to keep a very close eye on what is happening there in Alaska. And if we have any news coming out of the talks between the two presidents, we will, of course, let you know. We've got the latest of what's happening in Washington, D.C. to talk about. We've got a semi-disturbing story from the Washington Post. A fact checker who said that his facts were not correct during COVID. Yeah, not a surprise, but geez. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Josh Hawley cracking down on Facebook and Meta. And so much more as we go through. We got Chuck Schumer is threatening to sue the Trump administration over the Epstein files. So lots to talk about as we go through today. Also going to get that all important weekend forecast. Get you ready weather-wise for the weekend with Channel 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton when he joins us a little bit later this hour at about 2:45. Before then, Ken Williams from the Vic Porcelli Show will be in studio with us. And right now, starting on the line with us from Mike Ferguson in the morning is the great Gabe Pfeiffer. Gabriel, hello.
You know what time it is.
I know what time it is. It's time to talk to Gabe, which means it's Friday, which is always a good thing. And it's just great to hear your voice, as always, my friend.
I love being one of the first voices you have on Fridays,
Yes.
because then everybody loves it, so everybody loves me.
Exactly. Yes. It just comes with a good connotation when they hear your voice, like, oh, it's Gabe, it's Friday. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm evoking Pavlovian reactions.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. So as I mentioned, Trump and Putin have both now arrived in Alaska. They were videoed together walking off their individual planes and then onto like a big red carpet across the airport there, and walking across the runways and into the building together, chit-chatting like old friends as they walked in front of airplanes and everything else going through the airport. So, just looking real chummy as they head into these peace talks. Any optimism about what is going to happen today? And like I said, if we get any information over the next couple hours while we're on the air, obviously we will let you know, but we'll continue to keep an eye on it all afternoon here on News Talk STL. But Gabe, Ukraine is not represented in these talks about the war between Ukraine and Russia, which is to me weird and kind of a problem. I've talked a lot about that this week. What are your thoughts about these peace talks?
Yeah, sadly, global politics is such that right now what we're actually looking at are the important parties in the room. And honestly, that's kind of how it is. It's kind of how it's been since the end of World War II. Apparently, while the primary aspects of the Cold War kind of died down, we didn't get rid of it entirely, and we're kind of seeing the remnants of it now. The idea of proxy wars and wars in smaller countries that Russia has invaded that we are supporting, that did not go away with the 80s and the late 90s. So we're kind of here back again to this weird status quo between the two superpowers. Now, and just kind of referencing back to your observation about the two guys looking a little chummy there. It's always been a weird thing in politics to me, and politics and diplomacy, because there's always this veneer of congeniality and familiarity between the various world leaders, particularly in front of the cameras, and sometimes in the room, in the negotiating room, you have the that big smile that they're showing each other, which is just hiding bombs. So it's just a weird world when you really think about it.
Yeah. Are you optimistic that there will be some sort of path to peace coming out of these conversations today? Donald Trump has admitted himself this week that he's doubtful of that. He said I think the quote was, I don't have it in front of me, but I read it the other day. It was something like we've had great conversations in the past, and then I get home and I turn on the television and I see Russia dropping bombs on a hospital. And so so much for the conversation that we just had. You think there'll be any chance of this being different than those in the past?
I'm not particularly hopeful. I think honestly, the end to this war, the only path forward I see as an end to the war is Ukraine giving up the territory that Russia currently has right now. That seems to be the only off ramp from the open warfare, the open dropping of bombs and shooting of guns, is if Russia gets a portion of what they want. Obviously they want their entire band back together from the CCCP days, right? The USSR. But they're working their way towards it, and short of threatening open war, and I don't think any American is jazzed for that idea. Short of open war, I don't think Russia has any, or Putin in particular, has any qualms about saying, yeah, I'm not going anywhere. You're gonna give me something for the effort that I put in.
So I think you're spot on when you said earlier that unfortunately these are the two important parties in the room together, even though the United States is not part of this war directly.
Yep.
And the person that is the country that is directly part of this war wasn't even invited to these peace talks, talking about Zelensky of Ukraine. We know that Donald Trump in the past has made that offer to Putin about retaining, certain parts of Ukraine as part of a peace deal moving forward. And to this point, unless there's something that I've missed in the last 24 hours or so, Zelensky has always said that's Donald Trump's offer, not my offer. I would never agree to giving up part of my country. Now, I'm not sure that that's a true statement, but
yeah.
But doesn't that highlight the disconnect of not having the Ukrainian president in the room as well? If they come up with a deal here, are we just is the world to assume that Zelensky will just go along with whatever Donald Trump says to do? I mean, maybe that is the way it'll happen in the end, but just what do you think about that dynamic?
Honestly, having been born in America and lived my entire life in America, I don't know what it's like to be in a smaller, less powerful country. So I don't know, where, how do you view these types of negotiations? How do you participate in these high level discussions between nations that could nuke the world into oblivion, right? So I mean, on the from the practical standpoint, it's basically if the U.S. says, if you don't accept this, I'm not participating anymore, Ukraine is screwed. I suppose they'll have their European allies, but it's not going to be the same. You don't get Patriot missiles from France. It's just the leverage. It is what it is. Political realities when it comes to these things are not nearly as cut and dry or as easy or there's not a pathway to the movie walkaway victory that we all want.
Right.
And it's going to be ugly. And I think maybe we all need to just kind of get our heads around that before we continue talking about what's going on over there.
And my fear is, this is what I said to Crane Durham yesterday when he was on with us talking about this, is that I could definitely see the rest of the story playing out like this. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin have this meeting today. Donald Trump says, why don't you keep, the parts of Ukraine that you want to keep? It's like a fifth of the country, I think. Why don't you keep these parts of Ukraine? And if you will do that, if we let you do that, you stop the war, and I can announce that I negotiated peace. I think that Donald Trump's number one priority is peace. And I think it's peace. I think
he wants to stop the fighting.
He wants to stop the fighting. He wants to stop fighting because I think there's part of him that honestly wants to stop the fighting. And there's also a big part of him that wants to be the one that stopped the fighting. He wants the credit. He wants the tally mark. He wants another victory on his political resume, which is, understandable as well. They're all like that. Look at it's not the United States giving up anything. And so it's a little easier for him to say keep part of their country than it is to say keep part of our country, because he wants to have that that victory and be able to make this announcement that he's brokered a peace deal. And then so I think that agreement could be made today or in the near future between the United States and Russia. And then when Donald Trump presents that to Zelensky in Ukraine and Zelensky says that doesn't fly with me, then Trump says, well, this is our deal. And so if you don't like it, then we're just not going to support you anymore. And you're on your own. And I'm not sure. And I could see that happening. And then there's peace and we're done with this, but I'm not sure that that's I'm not sure that sets a good precedent around the world. I really feel like it's going to happen that way, but I don't know that I like that. I don't know that I like it. Go ahead.
Well, here's the problem. There is no good precedent to come from the situation.
That's a good point.
Because here, let's say Donald Trump says, all right, our end goal is the same as Ukraine's end goal, which is Ukraine will remain whole. Well, if Russia says no, Ukraine's going to give up some of its we're going to continue the war. Now we have an indefinite war that we're involved in and that we're supporting, that we're sending money for, that has no off ramp. So we could basically be waging this proxy war with blood, not blood, but necessarily, but certainly treasure, going over in Ukraine and occupying essentially a portion of our GDP indefinitely.
So if that happens,
and nobody likes that.
No, and it's not sustainable, and no, that's no way to go either. But
right.
Okay, so let's say that happens. Let's say that this deal is made, and Putin gets to keep part of Ukraine, and Ukraine, doesn't have any other choice and has to go along with it. That deal is made. How long is it? Is it an hour? Is it a day? Is it a week before China is in Taiwan?
Oh,
because as soon as that precedent is set, the moment that precedent is set, that this is how to negotiate with the United States, here we go. And I mean, it's going to be, I don't see this ending. I just don't see this ending in a good way.
Now, here's the problem with China and Taiwan is, and the U.S. The U.S. has much more solid ties to Taiwan than to Ukraine. There is stuff that is made in Taiwan that is crucial to our national defense. So the thing is, Taiwan might as well be one of our protectorates at this point, with the level of support that they would receive in the event of aggression from China. So, and China knows this. So the difference between Russia invading Ukraine and China invading Taiwan is Russia knows that the U.S. isn't invested enough to send an aircraft carrier, or you know what I mean, to literally launch fighters to protect the airspace over Ukraine. That would absolutely happen in Taiwan. China would be facing down the Pacific Fleet if that were to happen. So China is going to be a lot more reluctant to put troops in harm's way over in Taiwan than Russia would be, obviously in Ukraine.
I hope you're right. That is Gabe Pfeiffer from Mike Ferguson in the Morning. Ken Williams from the Vic Forcelli Show is going to join the conversation. An unlikely person said that they would nominate Donald Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize if he's able to bring peace between Russia and Ukraine. We will tell you about that. And we will get into the latest happening in Washington, D.C. as we continue with Gabe Pfeiffer and Ken Williams next on Colombo Company.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
Thanks for being my voice in all this.
This is News Talk STL.
There are people out there that feel the way that I feel and say what I say.
Welcome home.
Intervine and Intervine.com is the local family-owned business that makes the best flashlights, lanterns, and headlamps available on the market. Of course, Mike McCleary, the owner of Intervine, you hear him regularly on this show. He's our big tech AI expert. He's actually going to be with us this afternoon in the 3:00 hour. He's going to join us for a little Friday fun time. And there's a story happening between Josh Hawley and Facebook and the Meta AI that is a little bit concerning. We'll talk to Mike about in a little bit. But Intervine.com is your place to go if you are the hardcore outdoorsman or have a hardcore outdoorsman in your life and you want the heavy duty waterproof huge flashlights or lanterns. They've got you covered. But if you just need a small reliable light that fits easily in a drawer in your house or in the glove box of your vehicle, they've got you covered with those products as well. Batteries in all different sizes they have for you at Intervine.com, and you can get 25% off everything, all the Intervine products, just by using my name, Tony, 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 as your promo code. 25% off everything at Intervine.com. Intervine. Use my name, Tony, for 25% off everything at Intervine.com.
It's a brand new year. Tim Jones will tell you about the brand new things happening at The Hideout, famous for the Sunset Patio, 50 big screen TVs, live music and events, a fantastic game room, and of course, the food. The Hideout has a brand new menu featuring their world famous wings, the best handcrafted burgers, new items like the signature Sunset Dip and Dave's Chili, and a second location at Sugar Creek Golf Course in beautiful High Ridge. Experience The Hideout while enjoying a round of golf. Come in for lunch or dinner. The new 2025 Hideout, hideoutsportsbar.com, hideoutsportsbar.com. We'll definitely see you there.
The Herzog Foundation is the vision of its founder, Stanley Herzog, and it exists to promote quality Christ-centered K-12 education nationwide.
Hi, this is Chris Stegall with the Herzog Foundation. We offer a wide variety of resources relevant to today's families, including a free online publication called The Lion. The lion is one of God's most majestic creatures, symbolizing strength and courage. Named for its attributes, the Lion publication carries articles covering a wide range of topics facing American families and culture, especially related to the education of children. The Lion can be found online at readlion.com. That's READ lion.com.
Sign up for The Lion at readlion.com and find dozens of must-read articles published every day. Visit readlion.com and subscribe for the weekly and daily digests so you never miss an article. Readlion.com. That's readlion.com.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too, until I called STL Windows and Doors. Their Provia windows combine old world craftsmanship the professional way, the Provia way, with over 65 years of combined experience, locally owned, offering competitive pricing and personalized service that the big box companies can't match. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
And then the media.
1019 and 94.1.
They lying about what's going on in America. They lying about it.
News Talk STL.
She keeps a Moet Chandon in a pretty cabinet. Let them eat cake, she says.
Just like ba-da-ba-da-ba. Welcome back to Colombo Company on 94.1 News Talk STL. I'm Tony Colombo here in studio with producer Ashlyn, and now joined live in studio by the great Ken Williams from the Vic Porcelli Show. Great to see you, buddy.
Hi, my friends.
Hey, dude.
How are you?
How are you?
Good.
And, of course, Gabe Pfeiffer from Mike Ferguson in the Morning on the line with us as well. Ken, we were just talking about our expectations and, hopes for these peace talks between Trump and Putin, and I left that conversation saying that there is a unlikely person who has said that they will nominate Donald Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize if he is able to broker a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine, and that person is Hillary Clinton. And I know we've been talking about this throughout the day. Jamie was just talking about it as well, and she said it earnestly, like. I thought, like, obviously she took some shots in this. She was being interviewed on a podcast, I think. Where was she at? Yeah, the Raging Moderates podcast, whatever the hell that is. But she, at the end, like the thing of her saying, I'll nominate him for a Nobel Peace Prize is at least the way I interpreted, she was being serious about that part. I know you have thoughts. Go ahead.
Yeah, you know why she's getting serious is because it is getting serious.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's running for cover.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what's going on right now. You ever see the person that's the weak person that, like, they'll punch while everybody else is punching, but as soon as everybody stops, they run for cover, and then they act really like I don't know what you're talking about. She was fighting, and if you notice recently, she'd been making all these different outrageous comments about how crazy Trump is now, and just going way overboard.
Mm-hmm.
I think she got way over her skis, and she's finding out that maybe they know a lot more about things going on or that went on as than we thought.
Yeah.
And they're gonna. I think there's something behind the scenes happening, guys. I'm telling you, man. I know people want a lot of stuff, but I think they're building a huge case for this whole thing to come down.
Mm-hmm.
I really am.
Gabe, what do you think of Hillary endorsing the idea of Donald Trump winning the Nobel Peace Prize if he's able to negotiate peace?
Well, I certainly think it's hilarious that Hillary would say such thing.
Mhm.
But really, if you really look at it, and I'm not sure people, this kind of news that has flown under the radar. Trump did actually negotiate peace recently between Cambodia and Thailand.
Yes.
And there
Well,
was
the Congo and
He's ended multiple wars.
Yeah.
yeah, he has ended multiple wars. And here's the thing: when you put that together, if he can add the Ukraine-Russia conflict to his many accomplishments, he would turn out to be one of the biggest advocates for world peace that the White House has pretty much ever seen.
Mhm.
So him not getting a peace prize would be kind of an affront to what the peace prize is supposed to stand for. Between the Abraham Accords, the Cambodia Thailand conflict, and Ukraine, those three in particular. If he actually get that third one in the hat trick, that's to me that should be a short a short hop and a skip to actually getting the peace prize, like for real.
Ken is shaking his head. Go ahead, Ken.
No, because historically, Hillary Clinton is simply resist 2.0 now. I mean, she will not give Donald Trump a win of any kind, in any way, shape, or form, unless there's something in it for her right now. And I think the thing that's in it for her right now is the fact that she knows that Trump is holding all the cards and knows exactly where all the bodies are buried from Hillary Clinton. And she's saying, look, I gotta get on his side somehow.
Yeah.
I've got to get on his good side. He
You remember
gave,
when we were friends, Donald, 30
no,
years ago?
True.
No.
Because he actually let her off the hook at the first time.
He did?
He said, look, I'm going to move forward. I'm going to move on.
He never moved on with lock her up.
But with what she has done to him over the past 10 years, he wants
So,
more now.
I think you're exactly right about all that with Hillary Clinton. But thinking about the Nobel Peace Prize for a moment, and to kind of Gabe's point, they gave Barack Obama a Nobel Peace Prize. I had to look it up. I always have to look it up. I looked it up like 2 weeks ago on the air because I never remember why they gave him the Peace Prize, because it was literally for nothing. It was for
becoming president, wasn't it?
It was for his extraordinary efforts to strengthen international diplomacy and cooperation between people.
Yeah, that's
is that?
That's fake.
What is that?
That's a made up thing.
It's
It's completely made up.
His extraordinary efforts in being nice.
He became president.
Whereas, as we just mentioned, Donald Trump has ended multiple wars.
How long ago was India and Pakistan, by the way?
If he ends,
That's
exactly.
Right. He prevented a war in that.
Yeah,
It didn't get to the shootings, but I think people are not aware of how close that came to being an actual shooting war.
And they both have nuclear weapons.
So
guys.
if he brings peace, if he brings peace to the Russia-Ukraine conflict, and maybe even hopefully at least temporary peace in the Middle East, how can you not give Donald Trump the Nobel Peace Prize with a precedent set like giving Obama one for, again, quote, extraordinary efforts to strengthen international diplomacy and cooperation between peoples?
Well, guys, I honestly believe in credibility, and I just don't think the Nobel Peace Prize has a credibility we all thought it had.
But if they want to have any credibility, how could they not give
They
him
could
one?
throw 5 of them at him right now, and I wouldn't even care. And I don't think he would care, to be honest. To be quite honest with you,
I agree with that.
I think Donald Trump would probably he'll accept it. I think Donald Trump would accept it, but I don't think he'll take it seriously.
No, I agree that they have lost credibility and meaning to that. But if they want to pretend to continue to be the historic award,
standard,
that they claim to be, then how could you not?
The fact that he didn't even get a nomination for the Abraham Accords is a whole thing.
Right.
Absolutely right, Gabe. Yeah.
Let's switch to the latest coming out of Washington, D.C. today. AG Bondi stripped power from the D.C. police chief and rescinded sanctuary city protections and the continued crime crackdown operation from the Trump administration. Before I get into any of those details, I wanted to play everybody a little piece of sound here. Actually, I'm gonna have this up in just 1 second, but to set the stage, Joe Biden warned about DC crime and how it was a crisis, his word, and how something needed to be done to get crime under control in Washington, D.C. When? When he was president? No, not when he was president. In 1992. In 1992, Joe Biden talked about how bad crime was in Washington, D.C., and how badly the federal government and law enforcement officials and organizations needed to get involved. Here's a little bit of Joe Biden speaking on the Senate floor in 1992 about crime in Washington, D.C.
Congressmen have been stabbed in the gutter right outside of the Hyatt Hotel a little bit earlier, and 1 or 2 people had been shot in the park. Driving home, my staff who lives here in the Hill reminded me, don't stop at a stoplight until I'm out of town. If I see a red light late at night, since there's very little traffic, slow up at the other block so I never come to a full stop except in the middle of the block because of carjacking.
There you go. People are saying that Joe Biden in 1992 is saying the same things that the Trump administration is saying today, but the Trump administration is being demonized for it. And, of course, Joe wasn't back then or ever. Your thoughts?
Okay, first of all, when is America going to come to terms with the fact that the Democrat Party, if they don't like something you see or hear, they say you don't see that, you don't hear that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So no matter what happens in DC, no, it's safe. In fact, in Chuck Schumer's words, perfectly safe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we read that quote yesterday about how I walk down the streets all the time and I feel perfectly safe.
Perfectly safe. Vic
While
and I talked about this today.
The Democrat voting citizens in DC say it's a dangerous place.
Oh, yeah. Well, we played audio from a citizen saying how dangerous it was. She wouldn't even leave her home at night. But when a leader like Chuck Schumer says it's perfectly safe out there, that means people go out assuming it's perfectly safe. You know what I'm saying? So they wander around like it's perfectly safe. Well, that puts them in danger.
Yeah,
so essentially, Chuck Schumer is actually he's causing harm by saying
absolutely
perfectly safe out there.
For sure. Yeah. Gabe, in 1992, Joe Biden said it wasn't even safe enough to stop at a stoplight at night in Washington, D.C. And now Democrats, to Ken's point, want to act like there's nothing to see here.
Move on.
Yeah, your thoughts.
Oh yeah, of course. Now what you're going to get from the Democrats is a reference to their the stats, and they'll say, "Hey, look, this is falling and this is falling. Like these crime stats are falling. So obviously the city is getting safer." Now, what they're not going to tell you is what's going into those stats and how those stats are being taken, because I'm pretty sure it's the shenanigans that are going on are very similar to what was going on in St. Louis City not too long ago, where we were discovering that they were cooking the books on us. So attempted break-in of vehicles at a parking lot where 47 vehicles are broken into is logged as one incident. So that's one of those things.
And we know that they reclassified many crimes in DC that were felonies. They reclassified to misdemeanors to make it look like those stats are down. You're exactly right. The cooking of the books, manipulating of the stats, that you cannot believe what they are saying when it comes to that.
Now, of course, when you talk to the residents, they got a different tune, and I think if there's anybody I'm going to believe, it's those people.
Yeah, amen. Go ahead.
And the crimes are being committed by younger people, and these younger people are not getting the same type of statistics as adults. Okay,
right, that's true. Yeah,
these younger
arrests don't go in the books the same way as adults.
Yeah, Gabe, when you got 12 to 13, 14-year-olds that are running around doing these majorly adult crimes, like threatening lives, they're not going to report them the same.
Right.
They're just not going to.
Nope, you're exactly right. That's why you continue to hear the Democrats talk about those stats, and they are completely manipulated fake statistics. So they hold no water, but that's what they use. I want to get into a little bit of what the Attorney General announced today. A.G. Bondi, as I mentioned, stripped power from the DC police chief and named a new person, Drug Enforcement Administration Administrator Terry Cole, as the department's emergency police commissioner. Bondi also explicitly rescinded 3 orders issued by Metro Police within the last 2 years related to illegal immigration. The most recent one being an executive order issued by Smith earlier on Thursday, limiting cooperation with federal immigration authorities. While Smith's order stated that Metro officers could now assist in sharing information about persons not in the MPD custody and provide transportation for federal immigration agency employees, it prohibited personnel from making any inquiry through any database solely for the purpose of inquiring about immigration status. There's two others. It gets worse. That's the least of the bad ones. It gets worse. But Gabe, I look at this and I think to myself, why? Like, part of this story says we're sending any order that limits how metropolitan police officers can handle interactions and incidents with illegal immigrants. Why? How on earth did that even exist in the first place? That depending on if you're illegal or not, the police will treat you differently and more favorably for the crime that you are committing. I mean, it really just, I know this is not new. I know this is not the breaking news in any way, but it really does just give you, when you read it like that, it just gives you a moment to pause and say, how did we ever get here in this country where there are laws that need to be rescinded that say, yeah, if an illegal alien gets pulled over for drunk driving or robbing or steal, whatever it may be, yeah, they're going to be treated differently and more favorably than any other than the regular American citizen. It's insanity, Gabe.
Well, I mean, this is all in light of the insanity of who that police chief is to begin with. Mike kind of clued me in on this. She is the DEI hire of all DEI hires. She is the chief of DEI hires because she literally was the head of the DEI office of DC, and she got elevated to police chief with pretty much no law enforcement experience whatsoever. And this showed itself pretty clearly during one of the press conferences when a journalist actually did a journalism and asked the question, like a perfectly reasonable question: what is the current chain of command then? Well, like, if with this federal takeover, what does the chain of command look like? And her response, she had the furrowed brow of a confused face. She said, "What does that mean?"
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And Ken, taking all of this into account and going back to Chuck Schumer and the Democrats, threatening to take legal action against the Trump administration to stop this crime cleanup initiative that they have. How can you make any other argument except that the Democrats want people to be in danger? They want to hurt people. How can you make any argument besides that when you look at how egregious these policies that the police department was having to deal with? You look at the terrible crime stats and you see that all in a week, he's already some of the stat, like the arrests, they're already making a difference in Washington, D.C. in just a handful of days. How can you make any argument about what the Democrats are doing other than they just want to hurt people? They want people to be unsafe in America.
Whether you're on the left or right in America, if you see this, you've got to be thinking that. You have to be thinking, why would you not want this to happen? But another thing, guys, it's legal. It's perfectly legal for President Trump to federalize the
in DC,
law enforcement in Washington, D.C. So when they say they're going to sue him, okay, do what you're doing. But right now, this whole resist movement that's happening right now, when they keep saying, yes, we're going to stop them at every turn, they haven't stopped anything.
Mm-hmm.
They've done every time that there's been a court order against Trump, he's won almost every. I mean, I'm saying the major things.
Yeah, when we had Susie Moore on Tuesday, we were talking about how a lot of the headlines coming out about court cases recently have been about Trump victories, and she said it's not your imagination. He is starting to win across the board, and she said it's because a lot of these cases that started out and then hit those liberal justices, those liberal courts in the beginning, are now getting to the end of the line where the Constitution and the laws really mean something.
Well, real common sense prevails.
And he's winning. Yeah. And he definitely has the momentum going in many cases with these with all these different lawsuits. But Gabe, I've said this every day this week. You'll never find somebody who's more against big government or government overreach or government control than I am. But this is not Donald Trump taking over the St. Louis Police Department or taking over another city or state's law enforcement. This is the nation's capital where the federal government is in charge of the nation's capital. So this is that argument about how, well, if he's going to do this, then, he's going to take over the Chicago Police Department next. It's just not an apples to apples comparison.
Yeah, it won't be the same thing.
Yeah. Final thoughts on this, Gabe?
My hope is that the people who are watching, the people who are in danger in all of these blue cities, and they see that the Republicans are actually the ones who care whether or not they can feel safe going to work or going to church or going to their local coffee shop. I hope that translates to something in their minds and gets them to think and rethink the types of politicians they're going to support.
Any final thoughts, Ken?
Not really. Just hang in there. I just, we've got a policy on the Vic Porcelli show. Be on the offensive. We're done with laying back.
Yeah.
The traditional Republican role is to lay back and wait for them to attack. No more.
Yeah.
No more.
Yep. All right. Great stuff, guys. Thank you so much. Ken Williams from the Vic Porcelli show, which you can hear every day, 9 a.m. to noon here on News Talk STL, and Gabe Pfeiffer from Mike Ferguson in the morning, every day, 5:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. here on News Talk STL. And also check out Gabe's YouTube channel, St. John the Philosopher on YouTube. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend, gang.
Yeah. Back at you.
Thanks, guys. God bless.
Back at you, Gabe. Thank you. All right. Speaking of the weekend, are these very hot temperatures going to continue? Are we going to get any more rain? We're going to find out all of those answers from Channel 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. He joins us next on Colombo Company.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
Today, an update on Trump fighting crime in D.C. using the National Guard and the Metropolitan Police.
Larry Connors USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Bluff City Outdoors in Alton, Illinois is your place to go for all of your outdoor needs, whether it be your bow hunting needs, your trapping needs, your fishing needs. They have you covered across the board at Bluff City, open 7 days a week in Alton, about a mile east of Fast Eddie's there on East Broadway. Right now, of course, a lot going on with fishing. We are in full-blown fishing. The guys on the show call it the full-blown summer pattern. It's just a great time to be fishing around the area, and they've got all of your needs covered there at Bluff City Outdoors. But believe it or not, we are right around the corner from hunting season in both Missouri and Illinois. So especially if you are a bow hunter, they have the best bow techs in the area there at Bluff City Outdoors. So if you need your bow restrung, if you need to make some repairs, or if you need to get some new equipment, now is the time to visit Bluff City Outdoors, get all that preparation work done so you are ready to go when hunting season arrives. Also, don't forget about the Bluff City Outdoors show every Saturday morning, 11 a.m. here on News Talk STL. You can join myself and Mark McMurray, the owner of Bluff City Outdoors, along with professional fisherman Mike Marfell and other great guests each and every week on the Bluff City Outdoors show. Again, Saturday mornings, 11 a.m. here on News Talk STL. Visit Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. As I said, open 7 days a week. You can also follow them on Facebook and at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Jeffco Patriot Radio.
Hey guys, I don't know about you, but I love learning about national and international issues here on News Talk STL. But do you know what's going on in your neck of the woods, your city, your county, and its politics? If you live in Jefferson County and want to know more about what's happening locally, join Speaker Tim Jones and me, Councilman Billy Crow, as we dive into all things Jefferson County on Sundays at high noon on Jeffco Patriot Radio.
Jeffco Patriot Radio.
On News Talk STL. Hey, Colombo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Are you in a constant battle with mosquitoes outside your house? Well, stop smacking yourself in the face and call Mosquito Joe. Whether it's playing ball with the kids or cooking out with friends, Mosquito Joe treatments allow you to enjoy your yard without the nuisance of pesky mosquitoes, ticks, and fleas. No more itching and scratching, and no more wasting time on smelly products that don't work. Visit mosquitojoe.com or call 855-ASK-A-JOE to get more information and a free quote. With Mosquito Joe, outside is fun again.
Steve Templeton's Weekend Forecast, brought to you by Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor for all your roofing needs. Visit ConnorRoofing.com. That's CONNER Roofing.com.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. We are getting Channel 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton on the line right now. Before the weekend forecast, I want to remind you that if you want to make sure that you never miss anything that happens here on the show, like the great conversation that we just had with Gabe Pfeiffer and Ken Williams, and the conversation that we're going to have with Mike McCleary from Intervine in the 3 o'clock hour, the best way to do so is by subscribing to our podcast. We put the show out as a podcast every day right after we get off the air on basically every podcast platform. So wherever you like to get podcasts on that platform, just make sure you are subscribed to Colombo and Company, and you'll never miss anything that happens on the show. You can also get our podcast through our app, the free News Talk STL app, or right there on our website, newstalkstl.com. All right, Steve Templeton, Channel 4 Chief Meteorologist, is on the line. It is time to get the all-important weekend forecast, and I don't know what's going to happen over the next couple of days, Steve, but I know right now that the heat is back in St. Louis in a big way. Yeah. So thanks as always for your time, buddy.
You're not going to like the weekend forecast.
Oh, well,
Here we go.
It's August in St. Louis. You can only expect so much, I guess.
Yep, it's another heat wave coming our way. Right. Look, this one's a little different. Let me just put this in context compared to our previous heat wave from July, which was about 9-10 days, basically. This one's 5 days. Yep. It's not going to be as awfully humid, but it is going to be humid, and it could be a tad hotter than what we went through in July. But let me emphasize, it's not going to be as long, okay? So there is a lot.
5 days starting now? Or are we in the middle of the 5? Okay, all right, got it.
We started it today. It goes through the weekend into Tuesday. We have first alert weather days now through Tuesday. High temperature today, right now it's 97. We'll probably peak around 98, but I've got us at 99 on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Could we hit 100? Yeah, we could. Records are around like 105-ish. So, we're getting close. If we up the temperatures a little bit more, we could be close to some records. But at this point, we're shy of record territory and more about just intense heat. And then throw in a little bit of humidity in each day. The heat index probably peaks in St. Louis around 106. A general range in the region is about 100 to 106 for your heat index. Keep in mind that's peak in the afternoon. It's also based on shade. So if you're in the full sun, it actually feels hotter. Lows are going to be around 78, 79 degrees each morning too. So you're talking about lows in the upper 70s, highs near 100, heat index 106. Partly cloudy Saturday, mostly sunny Sunday, a lot of sunshine Monday. And then there is a chance for storms late Tuesday. They probably come in too late to cool us down. So that's why we have that as a first alert weather day. But it is a cold front that's going to break the heat. I've got a high of 87 by Wednesday of next week.
Okay. Yeah. When the low is 80, essentially.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, that really shows you how much we're cooking out there. I will say though, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, those temperatures, as you said, the temperatures are even a little bit higher than they were during that last heat wave. But I feel like the heat index on those days in July were like 110, 115. Yeah. So I don't know, maybe I'm really reaching to find a silver lining, but it seems like that the heat index is at least a little bit lower than it was during that last round of heat. So I guess that's something maybe.
Yeah, it was so awfully humid that humidity pushed that heat index into that like 110 range. Humid air is more difficult to heat. So when it's really humid, that's why if you compare, say, Florida to Arizona is the area where you get the 120, the 115 temperatures. You don't get that in Florida because it's so humid. So when we went through July and it was so humid, our highs only hit like 97 because it was hard to heat that air. But of course, it felt so humid, which made it felt much hotter. This round, it's still going to be humid. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still going to be humid, but not as bad. However, that means the slightly drier air is actually easier to heat, and that's why I have some highs around 99.
Yeah, and no rain this
Basically.
weekend, and no rain in sight over these next couple days at least.
So that's something I do need to touch on. I can't rule out when it's this hot. Sometimes you get like a little bubble up, isolated shower. Almost everyone stays dry, but some get one. We're getting one of those today in South County. Another one could pop up just during the heat of the day. I could see that happening on Saturday, probably not Sunday, Monday. There's a ridge of high pressure like right on top of us that should create sinking air that squashes that. But just know that, today, tomorrow, maybe someone gets a little shower. If anything, appreciate it because it'll temporarily cool you down.
And last question, real quick, talking to Steve Templeton, chief meteorologist over at Channel 4. I talked about me being on vacation up in Michigan last week. I even nerded out and sent you a picture while I was up there because it was so close of Mackinac Island and on Lake Huron. So right up there by the Canadian border. And the haze from the wildfires was really, really noticeable up there. Is that, and then, that we even got some of that in our area. Is that out of the equation at this point? Of those, has that issue gone away, or is that still something we're dealing with?
It's gone away for us, at least. Like it's not directed at us. One thing I am keeping a close eye on for air quality is low-level ozone. And if the air is not going up and down and mixing enough, and it's hot and sunny in the summer months, sometimes that low-level ozone builds up, and then that can be hazardous. So I'm looking into our forecast will come out for that in about a half hour. If it does get into the unhealthy, it will be just unhealthy for sensitive groups. Otherwise, it would be the moderate level. That's like the only thing I'm looking at air quality-wise, not smoke. So if you see any haze in the air, it's the humidity, and it's just a hot, hazy, humid day.
Well, great stuff. And as always, to keep up on everything happening up to the minute weather-wise, check out that Channel 4 weather app. It's absolutely fantastic. And Steve, thanks, as always, for joining us on a Friday afternoon and for everything that you and your team do to keep us informed about the weather throughout the week here on News Talk STL.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
Yeah, back at you, buddy. Thank you. Great stuff there from Channel 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. All right, we are going to be joined by Mike McCleary from Intervine, our AI expert. Josh Hawley is launching an investigation into Meta about their AI chat bots. So we're going to talk a little bit about that with Mike, and we're going to have some Friday fun time because I'm going to send you off into the weekend with a smile on your face. So you're going to be sweating the whole time. Talk to Mike next.
Beat the summer heat with Johnson Heating and Cooling, your trusted local family business. We specialize in residential air conditioning service, furnace and AC replacement, new construction, finished basements, room additions, and energy-efficient geothermal systems. At Johnson Heating and Cooling, our motto is simple. We treat our customers like we want to be treated, with complete transparency and honesty. Call 636-332-4141. That's 636-332-4141.
Attention St. Charles, looking for a local spot that satisfies all your cravings? Mario's Donut Restaurant is your place to go for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. From mouth-watering sandwiches and omelets to delicious gyros, Mexican dishes, salads, and wraps, we've got it all. And don't forget our famous donuts. They're so good, they'll make your eyes glaze over. Dine in or carry out, our friendly staff is ready to serve you with love and care. Mention News Talk STL when you visit. Call 636-447-4515 or visit mariosdonutrestaurant.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris. How are you, Vic? I don't want to put anybody else down, but when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need to understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm John Scott. The Alaska summit is underway. President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin are in Anchorage for their pivotal face-to-face meeting. Former Senator and foreign policy expert Jim Talent says he doesn't expect much to change as the result of today's sit-down between the two. Bob Agnew with a report.
Talent says President Trump still has to decide whether to impose new sanctions on Russia.
I think there's a very good chance he will, and then the ball will go back to Putin's court.
It may not sound dramatic, but Talent says that outcome would be one more in a string of serious setbacks for Moscow.
Look, this war has been a disaster for Russia, whatever else happens.
Talent tells the Salem Radio Network Putin may feel he cannot stop fighting now because then he would have to justify to his own citizens the enormous losses in the war for so little gained. Bob Agnew reporting.
Tropical weather threatening islands in the Caribbean. Correspondent Jennifer King.
Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands are bracing for heavy rain, surf, and possible flooding from tropical storm Erin. The National Hurricane Center reports the storm is tracking westward with sustained winds of 70 miles per hour and is expected to become a major hurricane. Tropical storm watches were issued for parts of the Leeward Islands, including Anguilla and Antigua. Hurricane specialist Michael Lowry says Erin's forecast to take a sharp turn northeast that would put it between the U.S. and Bermuda and away from the eastern U.S. coastline, but there is still uncertainty about its path. High waves, dangerous surf, and rip currents are expected to affect the East Coast and especially the Carolinas next week. I'm Jennifer King.
Shoppers spent at a healthy pace in July, particularly at the nation's auto dealerships. Retail sales rose a solid 0.5% last month, and June spending was stronger than expected, according to the Commerce Department. A mixed close on Wall Street. The Dow ahead 34 points today, but the NASDAQ lost 87. More at townhall.com.
I'm excited to share something that's especially close to my heart, the people of Israel. The Bible teaches us that in a world of broken promises, one covenant remains unshakable, God's eternal promise, his unwavering commitment to Israel, his beloved people. And now more than ever, God is calling Christians everywhere to support Israel, to be a living testimony that his promises endure forever. I've chosen to partner with the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews as one way to align myself with God's eternal plan. For over 40 years, this wonderful ministry has faithfully provided nutritious food, care, and life-saving aid to Israel's most vulnerable, the poor and the elderly, many of whom are Holocaust survivors. And when crises strike, like rocket attacks or urgent humanitarian needs, IFCJ is already on the ground responding with compassion and support. Join me in standing for Israel and declaring God's faithfulness to all generations. To learn more and to find out how you can help, visit ifcj.org. That is ifcj.org, ifcj.org.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Advisory in effect through the weekend and through Monday as well. We're looking at high temperatures each day in the mid to upper 90s, mainly the upper 90s. We could hit 99 by Sunday. 96 today, 98 on Saturday, Sunday's high, and Monday too, up to 99. Lots of sunshine and humidity. Those heat index readings as high as 105. Be careful out there. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Fox News commentary.
Should the parents of juvenile delinquents be locked up too? I'm Tommy Laren. More next.
When I started skiing, I didn't think about setting any records. When I won my first race, I didn't think about how many more I might win. So when I made it to the top of the world, it never crossed my mind to stop. Being the best isn't the same as being your best. There are no shortcuts to the top, so find the people who help get you there. I'm Michaela Schifrin, and that's what Team Stiefel means to me. If you're an advisor or an investor, choose Stiefel, where success meets success.
Stiefel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Past performance is no indication of future results. Investing involves risk. Consult a financial advisor before making any investment decisions.
Hear of juveniles behaving badly or criminally, it's not uncommon to wonder about their parenting or lack thereof. Well, a new law passed this summer in Gloucester Township, New Jersey is taking the concept to new heights. It's called Minors and Parent Responsibility and states that parents will be held accountable for public disturbances caused by their child and could go to jail for 3 months if their offspring are found guilty of multiple offenses. The law is reportedly in response to a massive teen brawl that broke out in the township last year. The offenses covered under this law range from destruction of playground equipment to loitering. A child would have to be found guilty repeatedly in juvenile court before their parent or guardian could face 90 days in prison and or a fine up to $2,000. This might be a bit radical, but it's sure to have parents a lot more aware of their child's antics. I'm not against it. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, at Outkick.com.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
Thanks for taking my call.
Right here.
You know what's going on?
Have a great awakening.
You see through the smoke screen.
It's cool to be woke. News Talk STL. Until it's not. News, analysis, opinion.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.994.1 News Talk STL. We are keeping an eye on what is happening in Alaska. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, last hour, both arriving there in Anchorage for their peace talks. They were seen walking together from the airplanes into the limousine that was taking them into the building where they were going to have these talks. And two leaders are sitting down as we speak. So we are going to keep an eye on this, and we will let you know whatever all the details are as we get them from the peace talks. Also, right now, joining us is going to be Mike McCleary from Endervine for a little Friday fun time with us. But I think we have a special. I think we have a special message from a special person to kick this conversation off. Go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Friday, and I can't think of a better way to kick off the weekend than with these two great Americans. I'm talking, of course, about Tony Colombo and Mike McCleary. These guys are quite simply the best.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. And what an introduction. Mike McCleary from Endervine is on the line with us. Mike, hello. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. I'm getting spoiled with all these incredible introductions
Endorsements
from both sides of the aisle.
No kidding. No kidding. Well, thank you for some time on a Friday afternoon. Of course, Mike joins us every Monday at this time, right after 3 o'clock, for a conversation about big tech and AI, and perfect person to talk to today for a little Friday fun time, as well as, before we get into some of the fun stuff, I mentioned this a moment ago. You're the perfect person to have this conversation with. Senator Josh Hawley, our very own senator right here in Missouri, is launching an investigation into Meta after reports found that the company greenlit internal rules that allowed AI chatbots to have romantic and sensual exchanges with children. Now, I think that these were not, like targeting children, but they weren't excluding children from these rules. Hawley, who chairs the Senate Judiciary Subcommittee on Crime and Counterterrorism, wrote in a letter to Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg that his committee will dive into whether Meta's generative AI products enabled exploitation, deception, or other criminal harms to children. Further, the probe will look at whether Meta misled the public or regulators about its safeguards on AI. A spokesperson for Meta confirmed a recent document that was put out by Reuters that sort of started this whole story because it highlighted an exchange between a Meta chatbot and an 8-year-old, where the Meta chatbot said something like, your body is perfect in every way, and every inch of your body is like a wonderland, or something like that. It was I should have me not having the exact quote is almost as creepy as the real quote. but anyway, a spokesperson for Meta confirmed that did happen and that the document reviewed by Reuters was real, but said, quote, it does not accurately reflect our policies, released a statement to Fox News Digital saying, quote, We have clear policies on what kind of responses AI characters can offer, and those policies prohibit content like sexualization or that sexualizes children and sexualized role play between adults and minors. Separate from those policies, there are hundreds of examples, notes, and annotations that reflect teams grappling with different hypothetical scenarios. The examples and notes in question were and are erroneous and inconsistent with our policies and have been removed. So Meta's saying that it did not happen, but that it's something that's been corrected and is against their policies. So that's the Cliff Notes version of this whole thing. But I don't know, Mike, kind of highlights a lot of things that we've talked about with just the evolution of AI. There's lots of concerns. There's going to be lots of stumbling blocks, and there's going to be lots of worry as this unfolds. What do you think of this story?
Yeah, I think it highlights exactly that, Tony, that when I did research this and I saw kind of what happened here, and I don't think there was anything done intentional. I think what really it highlights the fact that we're now facing questions that we don't really know how to answer, because there's a lot of negative things that come out of a company having exceptionally clear policies about what you can and can't say and how you document who is who. So, for example, that when I read this first, I'm sickened by the examples they use. But remember when what was it? All sexual harassment in the workplace became a big thing back in the 90s,
Mm-hmm.
and so companies had to go through like role playing,
Mm-hmm.
and because it was the only way. People are like, "Well, what are you talking about? Like, what if I tell someone they look good in the morning? Is that a violation of the policy?"
Yep.
And so people had questions, and so they actually had to do role playing. And I've been through those, and
I
they're
have
very
too.
uncomfortable.
I
They're
have
very
to.
uncomfortable
I
because
have to.
you're sitting there and you're trying to say things that and trying to see how far to the line can we get before it's over the line.
Mm-hmm.
And so this document is exactly that. The only way when you have a huge company like Meta to actually let them know what is allowed and what's not allowed is to give examples. And so they had to have a lot of examples in here that would tell them. And whether you agree or not, and I don't get me wrong, like the examples, I would not have said these are okay, but they weren't like, I don't know, they weren't like pornographic.
I agree.
or
Listen,
anything.
I agree with you. I know exactly what you're saying, and I agree with you. And I'm not the kind of person that's usually going to side with Mark Zuckerberg on anything.
Right.
But I agree with you that these were not. I don't think it was intentional. I don't think they're targeting children with this kind of thing. And you're right. It was gross and creepy, but it wasn't like overtly pornographic.
Right.
However, this is, and I think this illustrates a larger problem with AI is that, it still shouldn't have happened. And I think that I don't think anybody was out to get children, with this AI program at Facebook or whatever it may be. But like, it just highlights that, I think that even the people that are programming these things, it's just so complicated. The AI, the AI technology that, it shouldn't have ever been allowed to even be out there, even if it was unintentional. And I don't even know how. You would know better how difficult is it because this is such emerging technology to even know that something like that could happen, even if you don't want it to happen. And I didn't even know it could happen. So how could I have stopped it in the first place? I don't know, maybe I'm doing a bad job of explaining what I'm saying, but that's the big concern there is I'll grant you that it wasn't intentional, and I'll grant you that it wasn't as nasty as maybe some people would be worried that it was, but it still shouldn't have happened in the first place. And how do we stop that from happening?
I think that's the hardest question here. We're facing scenarios that we haven't faced before because in order to decide, what is allowable and what's not, someone has to go out there and decide what's allowable and what's not. You know what I mean? What words can you say? What phrases can you say? What age group is it okay for? Then we get to the black and whites, okay, is 13 old enough? Well, how about 13 in a month, 13 in 2 months, 14 in 2 months? All these really hard questions. And then the other part, and these are just all things that I stress about. The other part then is, how do you verify who you're talking to? I don't want to go in and show my driver's license every time I'm logging onto a chat, just so that now it can use, the word dang in a conversation.
And how often are kids going to lie about their age and
exactly.
things like that too?
Okay, I'm going to admit something here that I probably, my family's listening, so I'm going to have to say it. But anytime in my life in the past 30 years, you've ever gone to any site that's ever had any kind of adult content or alcohol, even alcohol, they pop up and say, "Oh, you can't see this. Tell us your birth date." I'm like, "Oh, that's gonna stop a lot of people." I'm gonna put in.
Right.
Am I gonna put in? I'm like 15. My birth date was like 50 years ago. No, anyone can type in any date.
Yeah.
It's
sometimes
crazy.
Sometimes it's not even put in your birthday. Sometimes it's, are you over 21?
Yeah.
And just click
box.
yes or no. Like it's literally
Darn, foil again.
Yeah, that is not a strong enough safety measure. But at the same time, you're exactly right. Everybody is going to complain if all of a sudden you have to use 2-factor verification every time you want to check your Facebook page, because you have to prove how old you are. Then everybody's going to be upset about that too. Right. Everybody's going to complain and say, "Oh, this is too much, and this is ridiculous," and so it's a double-edged sword.
Here's my attempt at a solution to this.
Okay.
And maybe I don't think it's incredibly complex, but I think that there's probably different levels of AI tools that are out there. There's like publicly available free chats, that you can access going to Meta, going to ChatGPT, and there's also the ones you pay for. I think that, if you're going to use anything that can provide sensitive adult content, I think at that point, maybe you do have to like verify who you are. Kind of like, you have to put in a credit card or put in an ID or some kind of verification. I mean, I think that's fine. Like there's a lot of places you have to, in order to fly a plane, you got to verify who you are. And I'm not saying go to that level, but I think that if you're going to have sensitive systems, I think it's okay. And then a lot of the other stuff
totally
out there
agree.
can just be public available.
I totally agree. There's the big pornography debate is happening right now, particularly down in Texas. I think we even talked about this on one of our segments. And I don't mind, just put up a paywall. Just put up a paywall where you have to verify who you are. Even if it's only 99 cents or something like that. But make people verify who they are and put in that information. That way you know that the kids, or at least you're doing everything you can to stop minors and kids from being able to access this content. That type of thing. Anytime there's sensitive content like that involved, I think putting up that type of a wall is the appropriate.
And I think that's reasonable.
I do.
I
agree.
I think that's the reasonable response to do that. And by the way, if my wife asks, I've been doing a lot of research the past few months on that conversation.
You got it. I totally understand. Now let's move to another very sensitive topic, especially in this room. Labubu dolls.
Oh.
Are you familiar? Were you familiar with Labubu dolls? Before I told you that we were going to talk about them today.
Okay, I have to use this word. It's my word of the day. I'm only tertiarily familiar with Labubu dolls. And by that, not directly.
Yeah.
I've seen some videos where they talk about these dolls. And that's just it, where they're like some conspiracies like, oh, they're possessed. They're like they have demon spirits in them. That's what, and that is my
popular
full knowledge of Labubu dolls.
Here's what I've learned about Labubu dolls. Either you don't know you've never heard of them, you don't know anything about them or what they are, or they're the most important thing in your life. It's one or the other. We did that story yesterday about that store. There was a store in New York that exclusively stole Labubu dolls that was broken into in the middle of the night and absolutely cleaned out. And we talked about how there's like bootleg Labubu dolls going for up to $500 on the internet because the craze is so out of control. And our very own Ashlyn has been going through a doozy with the Labubu people here. Give us an update on where you're at with your Labubu doll. Anything that you're comfortable sharing. How's it going?
It's going terribly.
No.
So I've been trying to get one for a week now. I did secure an order, but they canceled it because they said my payment wasn't 3D verified enough. And so I was like, well, if that's the case, how are you able to give me a refund?
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
Mike, you know a little bit about that stuff. How can somebody charge you, take your money, and then come back to you and say, you know what, your payment method wasn't right, so we're going to send you your money back? You're like, wait a minute, you already took it.
I've actually been through this a lot more than I probably should need to know about this.
Yeah.
But it's a fraud verification system that allows them to determine if potentially your card has been stolen and used by people who do what's called credit card testing. And this 3D verification is a type of secondary verification they do after the fact. So it's not that they weren't able to get your money; they weren't able to verify with another.
It shouldn't take your money first.
Yeah.
And
It shouldn't,
that's
but it does.
my takeaway from that. It shouldn't take your money first and then come back and say your money's no good here.
Yeah.
Oh no!
It should put up that red flag.
So what they're doing out is they're trying to make sure that it isn't people trying to like buy a whole bunch of them then resell them.
Sure. Yeah.
And therefore somehow maybe using fake credit cards, and they'll get what are called chargebacks,
Mhm.
and they'll lose a lot of money. So if there's a huge demand, small supply,
huge demand,
they can afford to be as as safe as they want to possibly be for every sale that they make on these things. And that's
Mhm.
why they're doing that, Ashley.
Well,
I'm sorry.
And didn't you say they even changed their story a couple times too? Didn't it? Wasn't there even new?
Goodness.
And from
Every day
Oh my
it
goodness.
was a new story. At first it was, well, try to repurchase it. And I was like, I can't get back to the page because the page is gone and you took 2 days to reply. So how's that going to work? Then it was, well, your network connection wasn't good enough. So retry that. And it just kept tumbling down until eventually they were like, well, next time make sure you have a better network connection and maybe you could get one.
Can you buy Labubu dolls in? Well, I guess they had this store in New York that got cleaned out, but like, is it mostly just an online thing, Ashlyn, or is this something that you can go to the stores and get?
You can pick them up if you have a Pop Mart where you live. You can pick them up, but right now, when we were in Chicago, they were doing you could only order online, and then you would go and pick it up in store. So for me to fight to get one of these Labubu dolls, I have to order on their app and try to get it shipped to me since we don't have a Pop Mart where I live.
So let me ask you this:
Hmm.
when we talk on Monday, will you be the owner of a new Labubu or not?
I have 2 days to
What's
try
your
to
guess?
secure one. I'm
What's
going
your-
to say yes, speaking positivity into the universe.
Well, keep us posted. Keep us
Definitely.
posted on the Labubu saga because I have now become invested, and I wonder if the Labubu will stick around long enough to be like a Christmas fiasco for people around the country.
This reminds me of Cabbage Patch Dolls.
Yeah, that's exactly what Mark McMurray said yesterday. You're really showing your age on that one.
I know.
I know, and I'm with you, by the way. Yeah, Cabbage Patch Dolls, Furbies, Tickle Me Elmo. Those all come to mind when you think of something like this. But in the digital world, it's different than those days where the grandmas were hitting each other with their purses trying to get that last Tickle Me Elmo. Now it's it's an online problem more than anything. So
Well, my very best to you, Ashley. I'm
Yeah.
confident you're gonna get this.
For sure.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck, kiddo. Well, keep us posted. One more thing I wanted to touch on with you, Mike, being our big tech expert. This was the week that AOL dial-up internet ceased to exist in the country. So as we embrace the new technology and the amazing level of technology of AI and these new systems, the originator of all of it, the old dial-up, is shutting down across the country.
34 years.
Yeah.
34 years they were up and running. I was a big user of it when it came out. I thought it was the greatest thing ever. I can still hear the connecting sound.
Geez.
And I can still hear when you got mail, you've got mail. I mean, that's so classic for the movie. I think the movie You Got Mail used that
right.
in there as well.
Yeah. That not being able to be on the phone, like somebody else in the house yelling at
Arguing over
you
it.
to get off
the phone. I need
Yeah,
to
get off the internet. Or get off the phone. I need to get on the internet, or get off the internet because I need to use the phone, or watching the loading bar when you're trying to, download a song or something like that, and it takes 91 minutes. You're 34 minutes into downloading a song, and it's at 48%, and you're just like, come on, baby.
I can't believe that they still had dial-up. When I saw the article, I thought it was a meme.
Yeah.
I thought like, oh yeah, they're so joking about it. No, they really had dial-up.
Yeah, we were talking about it on Wednesday with Mark and Skip during Closest Cabinet, and I want to say it was like 200,000 people, or somewhere around that number. 200,000, not 2,000, 200,000, which is a tiny percent of a fraction of a percent of when you're talking about 360 million Americans or whatever it is. But that's still a crazy number to me that 200,000 Americans were still using dial-up. So They had a
You know,
bad day, I
they
guess.
have such a history though, because even though, everyone thought they were going to be the, multi-billion-dollar company, and they kind of like went down pretty quickly after that, they were the first to really connect people online. And that was, I mean, as a matter of fact, like when I
Yeah.
lived here, my
it was
brother
a
and I
huge
would-
deal. It was
Yeah, we would sometimes
amazing.
go to like local meetups, like
Mhm.
AOL meetups. People are like, hey, in the St. Louis area, we're going out to the Dirtwater Fox on the Landing. That was a
There
real place
you
down
go. Yeah.
and we would go sing karaoke. I kid you not. We got invited, Tony, to actually go on tour, a karaoke tour. My brother and I.
Baby, let's go. I know your brother's
I don't want to
fantastic,
sound pretty important.
accomplished.
I also have many leather-bound books.
Yeah. Well, I know your brother's a great musician. I didn't know you had a little hidden talent there.
I like the way you framed that.
Yeah. Yeah. That he's good and you're questionable.
Yeah,
You like
well,
that?
I know your brother might be able to do it, and you are right.
Yeah, the first couple of years of the internet, like I was in, high school, college when all that was really taking off. And then basically the internet in those early days were just chat rooms. I mean, that was really, it was like, that's all anybody was doing was like, they were in chat rooms and, or trying to bootleg music. Those were the two
Napster.
things. Napster.
That was
Absolutely. Yeah.
Pretty cool story there. The guy who helped remove the from Facebook. That was the guy who started Napster was one of the, I guess, mentors to Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
And he told him his big thing was take the out of Facebook. Because it was called the Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Great stuff. Mike McCleary, thank you again for a little bonus time on a Friday afternoon. Always great to talk with you, buddy. Don't forget about Mike's company, Intervine, the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps available on the market, even batteries at all different sizes. Intervine.com. Go and check out all their products and use my name, Tony, Tony, for 25% off everything at Intervine.com. Mike, thanks as always. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you on Monday.
Thanks, guys, and good luck, Ashton, with the Labubu.
Yeah, we'll get the Labubu update on Monday as well. All right, before we get out of here and turn things over to the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show on the final day of Israel week, let's get a peek into, it looks like they are still behind closed doors in Alaska, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. But let's see if we can get the latest coming out of those peace talks that are happening right now between Trump and Putin, and get you that information before we start the weekend here next on Colombo and Company.
Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL. St. Louis's place to talk.
Freedom of speech is one of the anchors of our society.
News Talk STL.
The Walner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway is the team to call if you are looking into buying a new home or thinking about selling your home. The Walners are the best. They have the experience, they have the work ethic, and they have the stats to back it up. The Walners, as you know, selling 15 times more homes per year than your typical home seller. They have so many approved home buyers right now that they guarantee to get you an offer. Rodney and Jen are married. They bring that family perspective to the conversation when you're selling your home, or if you're like we were when we worked with the Walners a few years ago, selling one home and trying to find our next home for our family. Rodney and Jen, just that family perspective, so instrumental in making that happen. We could not have had a better experience with the Walner Home Selling Teams. They sold our house in record time and for more than we were expecting to get, which put us in just a great advantageous position moving forward to help us buying our new home. And, when we went through that process with the Walners, it was a seller's market. So we had that going for us. And right now it's still a seller's market. So this is something that you need to take advantage of. If you've been thinking about selling your home, don't let that opportunity pass you by. Take advantage of the market conditions and work with St. Louis's #1 home selling team, Rodney and Jen Walner, the Walner Home Selling Team. Call them right now at 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD for the Walner Home Selling Team.
SR1 Sundays.
Hi, this is Elizabeth Kaiser. Be sure and check out my show, Straight Lines, this and every Sunday at 8 p.m., right after Stand and Fight, part of SR1 Sundays. Let's meet right here and let's peel back some layers of this crazy world, and you might be surprised at what we find. Straight Lines with Elizabeth Kaiser on SR1 Sundays at 8 p.m., right here on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Straight Lines with Elizabeth Kaiser on News Talk STL.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
Your view of movie stars might be jaded because of how some of them act. Not acting in a movie, but in life. Snobbish, elitist, always better than you. Many are filled with hate for Trump, MAGA people, and even for the nation, where they have become stars and piled up riches. I can think of several I truly do not like. And it's not because of their politics. I can appreciate their talent. I'm honest enough to admit they were great in a certain movie, deserving an Academy Award for that work. They're acting, not their real life. There are also several I genuinely like as a person. I don't truly know them, but the stories about them I like. Denzel Washington is one of those. He's won 9 Academy Award nominations, winning 2 Oscars. Asked, where do you keep those awards? He said, next to the others. And then he said, I'm not trying to brag. I'm just telling you. And then he adds what is really important. On my last day on earth, those Oscars aren't going to do anything for me. God gives the real award.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
John Beal knows it right after a hailstorm. New roofing companies start popping up everywhere. But the Small Business Administration reports 96% of them go out of business within the first 5 years. So how good is that warranty? John Beal started in the roofing business, helping his granddad and his dad. Always offering the best roof, best price, best guarantee. John Beal Roofing, not some fly-by-the-night operation. Call my friend John, 1-800-NEW-ROOF, 1-800-NEW-ROOF.
Tony Colombo here for All Solutions Pest Control. The team Christine and I trust to protect our home. We've used multiple services at multiple homes over the years, and I can tell you from all that experience, All Solutions is second to none. If you have a pest problem of any kind, or more importantly, just want to prevent a problem, All Solutions is the team to call. Learn more and take advantage of their incredible $67 introductory offer right now at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
McGuire Moving is silver certified, which means they are great at relocating senior citizens. In fact, McGuire is a household name because McGuire understands the stress involved when moving older adults. So if you or family members need help moving, I highly recommend McGuire Moving. 314-241-0600. 241-0600. Get a free in-home estimate. McGuireMoving.com.
Hi, Sean Long from STL Fenceworks. A new fence or deck is an investment in your home and your lifestyle. But how do you ensure that you're getting the most out of that investment? At STL Fenceworks, we know the key is satisfaction. Satisfaction means getting a fence or deck that not only meets your needs, but exceeds your expectations. Satisfaction means working with a team that cares about your project as much as you do. Satisfaction means having confidence in the quality of your new fence or deck, knowing that it was built with the best of materials and workmanship. STL Fenceworks, your satisfaction is our passion. And for me, satisfaction is knowing that providing for your family is how I provide for mine. Visit STLFenceworks.com and experience the satisfaction in making your backyard dreams into a reality.
Here's great news. Napoli Kirkwood is now open. So that means fine dining right in the heart of Kirkwood. So you have the original Cafe Napoli in downtown Clayton, Napoli 2, Town and Country, Napoli 3 on the streets of St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C, plus Napoli Brothers Pasta and Pizza in the Chesterfield Valley. All of those locations, and now adding Napoli Kirkwood. What a great place to dine. Napoli Kirkwood, now open.
on the next
Larry Connors USA.
Today, an update on Trump fighting crime in D.C. using the National Guard and the Metropolitan Police.
Larry Connors USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. I mentioned that before we get out of here, I want to get you an update on what is happening in Alaska. The latest coming out of Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, who are behind closed doors, continue to be behind closed doors with their peace talks right now. But I want to go live to Newsmax. The Republican governor of Alaska, Dunleavy, is talking. He just met with Donald Trump as the president was heading into that meeting. So let's go live to the governor of Alaska here and see what he says about these peace talks as they were just getting underway.
To your state.
Well, we actually met on Air Force One. We went on Air Force One and went in the Oval Office in Air Force One. It was a brief meeting. We got an opportunity to speak briefly with the president. Susie Weil was there. Secretaries were there. Secretary Hegseth, Secretary Rubio, Secretary Lutnick, Steve Witkoff were there. And so just a brief conversation about Alaska and all, in an effort to dispel some rumors, right? There were some rumors out there that the federal government was going to sign agreements with the Russians on Alaskan minerals. There was also a rumor that the Russians were to start the ship Alaskan gas. All those rumors were dispelled, and we wish the president the best. And shortly thereafter, we left the plane, and the Russian plane landed with Vladimir Putin on it. Those two met and stood for a little while on a podium. Pictures were taken, and then they got into their vehicles, and now they're having discussions about how to end this war, which I hope provides fruit, and I hope it's a just peace. But we'll see how long the meeting lasts. If the meeting lasts for a long time, that may be a good sign. If the meeting is over pretty quick, that may not be a good sign. But nonetheless, it's great to see the president in Alaska.
Yeah, Governor, I got to say, your state would be pivotal in an energy portfolio for the United States to actually export energy around the globe to our friends so that they wouldn't be slave, for example, to states like Russia or to other, shall we say, less desirable states like the number one state sponsor of terrorism, Iran. Have you and the president ever spoken before about the power of Alaska's energy?
Oh, we have, and he is very supportive of this large natural gas pipeline project that he's been pushing since 2020. We got all the permits.
Okay, so
in Trump.
We'll continue to keep an eye on that. That is Alaskan Governor Dunleavy, who is speaking live right now and discussing the fact that he had a brief conversation with President Trump just a little bit ago as the president was heading into these talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin. They continue to meet behind closed doors as we speak. A couple of the headlines, a couple of the stories that have been discussed here either right before or during these meetings over the last couple of hours. Donald Trump made the announcement. We've talked a lot, especially on this show, about how President Zelensky of Ukraine is not in these meetings. And Donald Trump said that Zelensky will not be at the next set of meetings, if there are any to come in the near future between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, which, again, I have a lot of questions about that, but that was one of the headlines coming out of this. Also, just before these meetings started, Donald Trump vowed that no territorial concessions would be discussed or on the line in these meetings today, which is a little different than some of the conversations that we have been made aware of in recent times. Donald Trump told the media that this conversation, this closed door meeting, could last as long as 7 hours. I think, if I'm right, we're somewhere around 2 hours right now. I think they were pretty much starting their conversation right as the show was starting at 2:00. So we're closing in on a couple hours there.
And Donald Trump was making that prediction that it could go for a very, very long time. He also said last night and reiterated today going into it that his words will bring the hammer down on Russia if they are not showing a seriousness about moving towards peace. And he said that if he didn't think that Vladimir Putin was serious or was on the same page as him as far as a realistic path towards peace, that the meeting would not be a long one. It would be a very short meeting if the Russian president wasn't there to honestly negotiate a path towards peace. So I guess maybe with that in mind, the longer it goes, the better, because maybe that means they are actually making some progress. So this is, again, something that we will continue to keep an eye on throughout the rest of the afternoon. But Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin remain behind closed doors in Anchorage, Alaska during their peace talks. And if there is any more details that come out of that, we will, of course, let you know. Real quick, I touched on this story earlier. We only have a couple minutes left, but I wanted to make you aware of this before we were gone. Headline today, former Washington Post fact checker admits he screwed up on COVID-19 lab leak theory. Just think about how bad that one sentence is, that the fact checker admits that what he did was wrong. In a recent interview with a podcast that I am unaware of, the former Washington Post fact checker talked about a headline that was titled, quote, "Was the new coronavirus accidentally released from a Wuhan lab? It's doubtful." And how he said that even at the time he was called out by his own people, because that isn't even exactly what the story that he wrote along with that headline portrayed. And it just goes to show you. And I know this is like so many other stories these days. It's not a shocker. This isn't like, that's an unbelievable admission, but it is more actual proof of just how much the media was lying to us during the coronavirus and the Biden administration, and just throughout. Just more actual proof to that point. All right, we are just about out of time, but we will be back on Monday at 2 p.m. here on Colombo and Company. In the meantime, keep it here for the O'Reilly Report next. Then the final day of Israel Week with the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Thank you so much for listening to us and supporting us here at 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. Have a great weekend.
Hungry for the best steak you'll ever have? Head to the heart of Moscow Mills and discover Harry J's, a local landmark and family-owned steakhouse, serving up excellence since '98. From mouth-watering appetizers to decadent desserts, Harry J's has something for everyone. Enjoy our extensive bar selection while soaking in our friendly family atmosphere. Whether dine-in or carry-out, your meal is prepared to perfection. Make the drive to 300 Main Street and treat yourself to a taste of Moscow Mills' finest. Harry J's, more than a steakhouse. We're a tradition.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for the great Window World. You know, just over the last 20 years of Window World being in St. Louis, they've improved the look and thermal efficiency of more than 76,000 customers in St. Louis. Plus, Window World windows come with a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor. And now Window World is now offering 36 months, same as cash financing, with approved credit. Call them today at 314-993-1800, 314-993-1800.
This is Mark Harder with RE/MAX Results, the #1 RE/MAX franchise in the region. As a licensed real estate broker with RE/MAX Results for over 20 years, I've seen the ups and downs of many real estate markets, including the one we're in right now. With the spring market in full swing, now is the time to leap into the buying or selling of your home. Someday is not a day. Today is the day to make your move. Call me at 314-852-8933 or email me at markhardersells@gmail.com.
Hi, Kirk Hilsinger here, and I'm the new chairman of the St. Louis Republican Central Committee. I invite you to our meetings that take place the first Thursday of every month at 3710 Hampton Avenue. You can stay connected with us to learn more about how you can get involved, make your voice heard, and contribute to our shared goals. Together, we can make a difference in the city of St. Louis and the state of Missouri. For more info, visit our new website at stl-gop.com. That's